Today I'm going to introduce a thing called wallmaker. When you first start off in 3D graphics programming, you have to make the spheres and the squares and the planes and so forth. You have to actually figure out how they all work and then write the code to make them. Because of the fact that once you do it, you've done it, and it takes too much time to do it, I wrote this program that automatically makes 3D programs, automatically does it for you. But what it does is kind of a simple thing. It makes 4 walls, a ceiling, and a floor. And then you put the rest of the world in there. But when you create the 4 walls, all you have to do is kind of draw where you want them. You could also draw other walls. I'm going to show you how to do that today. And the program I'm going to use is called wallmaker. It's wallmaker, and it's at our website. It's wallmaker.html. Wallmaker.html, and it actually will draw a 3-dimensional room for you. And even if you don't have walls, it's ideal to take wallmaker and make your program with it, because it gives you mouse controls and gives you all kinds of interesting things that come with it. They're built in. So what I did was I said, okay, we'll eliminate all the little problems of trying to program and get down just to doing the artistic part of it and building the world. So what I want to show you today is how wallmaker works and how you use it. Okay, you got to be kind of if you have any questions, ask me, because otherwise it might stymie you when you try to run it. To begin with, the frame that I use, that frame right there, which is all that people at home see. They don't see the whole screen. I have to be sure that everything critical goes inside that frame. The problem is wallmaker takes up the whole screen, so I'm going to have to be moving it around a little bit, so you won't be able to see the whole. But if you ran the program, if you have a computer with you and you run wallmaker, you'll be able to look at the whole screen. You kind of see what I'm doing. Okay, so let me just get it up and running here. See if I can move this thing around. Hang on. I think I can. Yes, I can. So in this case, if you guys want to run wallmaker, what you type is .works.com/wallmaker, all one word, .html. That's it. And the program comes up. Now I'm going to reduce the screen size here so we can see a lot more of it than we normally can see. Okay, so here's wallmaker, and I'm going to move this around. On the left-hand side of the screen is like a grid. You'll see this grid kind of thing. Essentially, that's where you draw your walls in. You know, you have a top-down view of the world, and you draw your walls. Now those walls could be mountain scenes or a room, and it could be anything. Okay, I mean, how big it is, that's all in your imagination. The question is, you can draw walls around it. I have it rigged so that the user of your program can walk towards the walls, but they can't get through them. They'll bump into them and they'll be stopped. Okay, it's a simple if statement. I say, well, if they go too far this way, don't let them go any further. If they go too far that way, don't let them go any further. So the nice thing about wallmaker is it traps people in the room. This grid right here is the room. All the stuff that you have is going to be in this room right here. Now, after we use this a little bit, you'll see that you have flexibility to change whatever's there, but for the time being, assume that everything's going to be in this room. So if you draw the outer walls, you'd be very wise to draw them right along the edges of the room, right in this area right here. To draw a wall, all you have to do is press the mouse down and drag it, and it draws a wall for you. Okay? And then it'll put the image. You have to tell it what image you're going to put on the wall as you do it. So let's start off. I'm going to write a little simple program, and I've actually got, let me just kill this a little bit here. I've got a, as you can see, I made a little folder, and make a list here. There's a list. right here. And I put these pictures in it. Instead of having to download everything, I brought some pictures down earlier. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a room that is essentially a mountain scene. You're going to have mountains on all sides, okay? And you're going to be in a room, standing in a room, but it's going to be mountains on all sides of you. And just think of it like someone projecting on the walls of this room right here. Just think about projections on all the walls and the ceiling and the floor. And what I did was I'm using one MP4 file. I found these guys who were crazy enough to jump off mountains with their hands out like that, and they go down, they fly down these mountains. They get killed almost every day. One of them gets killed. But basically, it's quite a thrill because they have cameras on the tops of their heads, so you can actually see what they're going through. That brings me to another issue. My computers, this is a really old computer, really slow, okay? You probably have faster computers. So you don't have to worry. When you run a YouTube, the YouTube shows normally like it always does. If you run a YouTube while you have screencast running at the same time, your computer is now doing two things at once. It's showing you the YouTube and it's capturing that screen, putting it away. So you got two major graphics programs running at the same time. The older your computer is, the more it's going to be a problem for you. So what happened was, when I first did the guy flying off the mountain, I captured it in the normal screencast. And what happened was, it would stall YouTube, and all of a sudden I'd see that little circle thing coming up, which it recorded. So in other words, when I played the thing back, what I saw is the guy flying down the mountain. It would stall, and it would go like that, and then he'd fly some more. So I said, well, that's no good. So what I did was, it turns out in YouTube, you have the ability to change the speed of the playback. If you go to there's a little gear in the lower right-hand side. I'll show you, we can go to it afterwards. But you hit that gear, and it shows you can have normal, or 1.5 times, double time, or half the time, or whatever. You can choose how fast you want that movie to run. So I just simply dropped it down to half the speed, which sort of makes them look a little bit like slow motion, but not too bad. And it brings them back, and what it did was, it allowed YouTube to give me frames slower, therefore it never gave me the circle. It just looked a little bit slower, but I didn't get the circle, time waiting for a frame to come in. Some people watch my videos like that, my class videos. They'll watch them on YouTube and they'll speed it up to 1.5 times. And I sound like Donald Duck, but you can still understand what I'm saying, and you can watch it, an hour's class in half an hour, basically, and you can understand what's going on. So you might want to do that. I've had several people do it, and it works out quite well. So there you have it. That's all I want to do is, I told you I have these files right here. I'm going to take these files. Everything I'm going to do is going to be on the desktop. So I'm going to copy these files to the desktop over here. You don't see it, but they're going on the desktop right now. Okay, I'm going to build my program, and I'm going to put all the pictures and everything on my desktop. So therefore, when I run it, they'll all be there. Okay. So let's go back to what I was talking about before. I've just done that. I've copied these files. Now, so when you open up the screen for wallmaker, you're going to see this thing right here, and down below that, let me go back to the normal size here. Down below that, you are going to see all this writing down here. Okay, and what the writing does, it's where you put in your information, and it's how to run the program, basically. So here's what you do. If you look across all these areas right here, all these things. Well, can you read that, by the way? Can you read it on here? Let me make it a little bit bigger so you can read it. Okay. How about that? That ought to do it. Is that more readable? Pretty low though, isn't it? Let's do something about that. What can I do about that? I don't think there's anything I can do about that. I can't get this off the screen. I can make it smaller. That's all I can do, but that ain't gonna help you. Basically, I hope that you guys can see it. That up on the top up here, if you have your mouse inside the grid, it tells you X, Y, X, Z where you are. It tells you your location. Some people find it useful. I don't particularly find it useful. I put it in there so that people might be able to figure it out. Sometimes when you draw two lines and you want them to meet right at the same spot, if you looked at where one of them starts, then when you draw the other one, you can stop at that same point. You can be sure the thing closes up. Because this is what happens. You make two walls like this. And if you leave them a little bit apart, they can see the background through the hole there, okay? So you basically want to make your walls touch each other to be sure so they don't stay outside. But if you overlap too much, then you lose stuff, okay? So you could do it. You can cross your walls like that, you know, a little bit. It's probably the best thing to do, because if you don't, you're going to try to make them perfect. And then when you run the thing, you're going to see that it isn't perfect. Now, anything that we have, you can fix later, because we still have the power to control everything, all the numbers and everything. But at this particular point, when you're drawing the thing originally, why not do it right? You can just do it the way you want it to be done. You don't have to fix anything. So those two numbers there, that's all they do, X position and Z position. The floor texture, what you do right here is you type in, replace the floor texture, you replace that with the name of the picture that you want on the floor, whatever it is. Okay? Now the floor is always the same size. It's the entire of that grid. It's everything, the entire grid. So make sure that if you have a picture, it should be, if it's going, you want a high quality picture, you want it to look like a good wood or whatever you put on the floor, you should have something that's like 1,000 by 500 or 600 or something like that. Make sure there's enough pixels in your picture. If you use a teeny little picture, it's going to pull it out, it's going to be blurred because it's trying to approximate the quality of the floor, and you can't do it. So you got to have something. The floor is the biggest image. The floor and the ceiling are the biggest images. The walls aren't quite so big, but the floor has got to be really big. So make sure it's about 1,000 in one direction and not less than 600 in the other. That's about the size of an image. Now remember, when people use images, this is all online, and so all these images have to come down to their computer when they're running. So you don't want to use images that are too big, like 2,500 by 2,500. They're huge. That's a big picture. That's pixels. What that means is if you have 2 or 3 like that, as soon as they run the program, it's going to look blue for a few seconds. Nothing's going to happen. And then all of a sudden the pictures and everything will come in because they're downloading. It takes a while for them to download if they're really, really huge. So you don't want to get too big pictures. That's a big problem. So I would say 1,000 is about the upper limit for a normal thing. If you don't mind them having bigger pictures and they don't mind waiting, later in the course I'll show you how to stall. When the image opens, it'll stall them doing something else until the thing loads, and then it'll open it up. So they won't see in that loading. For our purposes now, we're going to see everything load in, but that isn't going to hurt anything. That's just for us. We're going to see how the things load in and how they color up and everything. But you have to have a little patience with this stuff, because in the beginning we don't have any tricks. We just have the straightforward, give me the 3D world, put pictures on it, and that's a lot of work. Okay, it just does it right in front of you. So basically, for a floor texture, let's see what I used here. I think I have one. I gotta find the thing. For floor texture, I used floor.jpg. So I'll show you how I put that in there. So what I did is right where it says floor texture, I put floor, Floor .jpg. And it has to be exactly the same name as your actual picture that says floor texture, okay? For the roof's texture, right here, I'm going to shrink this to see what it was. It's called sky. It's right here. It's called sky, okay? So I'll bring that back out again. So I call it sky.jpg. Okay, those two will automatically go in place. The floor will now have that picture, and the sky will have that picture. That's all automatic. You don't have to do anything else. But you do have to determine where every time you draw a line now on in this little area up here, and every time you draw a line in that area, you have to put in the name of the picture that you want on that area. It's got to have a texture, so you got to give it some texture name. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the 4 walls around the sides, the back wall, the front wall. The back walls, let's see, the front wall's over here, the back wall's over there, the left and the right. I'm just going to draw them like that. I'm going to draw one at a time. So the first thing I want to do is I want to draw the front wall. So I need to know what the name of the front picture is. I have to put that in before I draw the front wall. I have to say, what is the picture? So in this case right here, I call the front wall, what do I call it? Oh, the front wall happens to be a movie. It's called wing.mp4. It's a video, okay, wing.mp4. So here's what I do. I say, okay, in that front wall right in here, it says your image here. I select it all and say wing.mp4. So I got it. Now that means that wherever I draw the line now, that's going to go in there. So what I want to do is I'm going to go back up here. Hang on for a second. I'm going to move the thing up there to here. Okay, so here's the grid showing. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the wall by pressing my mouse down inside the grid. I think I am, not like that. By the way, you can hit backspace and it backspace. What it says, a backspace? No, it's not backspace. It's delete, I think. Sure wish I could read something here. Does anyone have a delete key? Come on. Oh, here it is. Okay. Hit the delete key to get rid of anything you draw that you don't want. I misdrew that, so we'll try this again. I've told you this before, but my mouse, I'm pressing down now, I'm dragging, and I go across the back of the thing right here, right as far as I can go, and I let go. That line will now have a picture. That's a picture of that wall I'm looking at. That's the front wall, and it's going to have that picture I put in there. It's going to have a video on it. Okay, so that one's done. The front wall is done. It's got a video on it. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to put the let's put the left wall on. So I go down to here and I say, okay, I want to draw the left wall. I'm going to draw the left wall. So the name of that is, I believe, left wall. Let me be sure. Left wall .jpg. Let me see if that's what it is. I'll have to check. Left wall. Here it is. Yep. There it is. This is getting crazy. Okay. These are all the pictures right here, bringing them in. So this is called left wall. I'm going to put that left wall as the picture. And there it is, says left wall. Now I have to draw the thing. So I go back up to the grid and go back up there. It's going to be tough because I'm going to have to go outside the frame to draw it, but that won't be a problem. You have to know that I'm going down beyond the frame here to draw this thing. But here's the left wall. I start here, click down and drag all the way down as far as I can go inside the wall and let go. And there it is. That's the left wall. That's going to contain the picture left wall on it. So now we have an active, the left wall is just a picture. So it's not a movie. Now I want to draw the right wall, and I believe it's called right wall, so I'll just do that. It's called right wall. If you make a mistake here, no problem, because when the program is created, you can go into that line and just change it. So you can change anything that you make a mistake on later. So the next one's called the right wall, so I go back up again. I want to draw that. So I start up here at that intersection, and I press down and drag all the way down to here. There it is, the right wall's done. And now I'm going to draw the back wall. Let me see what it's called. Back wall is called back wall. Different. Back wall. So I bring this down. Does everybody see what I'm doing so far? You kind of get it? Okay, backwall.jpg.
Drawing the box, sort of.
What?
Sort of drawing the box, the world. You're setting its boundaries.
Oh, wait a minute. Don't do that. Wrong place. Floor texture. That's called floor, right? That what it was called? Yeah. It's right here. It's called back wall. .jpg. You can use pings if you want. So you can use pings, JPEGs, or MP4s, which is a movie. You can either any of those three. Okay, those are the possibilities. So now I draw that one. I have to draw that back wall, which is at the bottom here. So I'll draw that. Hang on. Put the mouse down right here. drag across to here. There it is. There it is. So what I've done now is I put the 4 walls in. By the way, you can put in between walls. Put walls anywhere you want. You press down and drag it and put a wall right in that spot. So basically you have a room, you have a wall here and a wall there. You can put walls all over the place. The walls can be seen on both sides. So you can see this side, you go around the back, the same picture's backwards on the other side. And that's the way it always works. Okay, so now what we have is we've actually created all of the scene that we want. Now what we have to do is create the actual code for that scene. Easy to do. On the right-hand side of the screen, over there, on the right-hand side, you see that button right there. It says press here to generate code when you finish them all. So if you just press that button, all the code that creates that entire scene, the mouse controls, everything is created and is all put in position for you, okay? You may think that's hard, but it's really not that hard to do. Basically, all I simply did was I wrote a program that would show what that thing, and I simply had it print out all the code that's standard and plug in the places where you put new stuff in. That's all I did. So basically, it's an easy thing to do. Now I have that code, and the question is, that's on the internet. We have to get that down to our machine. This is where the tricky part comes in. Click your mouse once make sure your mouse is in the area where the code is. Be sure that's true. Then hold down the control and hit A for all. You've selected it all, okay? I'm going to copy that code and bring it down to our notepad, into our machine, okay? So I copied it all, and now what I have to do is I have to open up Notepad. I'm going to close this for a second here. I open up Notepad, and then what I do is, this is Notepad, I hold Control and hit V, I hope. Didn't do it. Hang on for a second, maybe I didn't get it. Let me go back out there again. Oh, I selected all. I gotta say copy. I didn't say copy. I selected it all, but I didn't copy it. So hold Control and hit C for copy. If I did it right, let me do that again one more time. Copy, okay. I hope I've copied it. This time I go into here and hit V, and there it is. So in other words, all I did was copy it from that box there and bring it down to my machine. Now I have the code. I save it in my machine. I say save, and I'm going to give it a name. It's going to be on my desktop where all the other stuff is, and I'm going to call it we'll call it flight.html. I'm just giving it that name, and I got to be sure I call it an HTML. All files. There we go, and say save. There it is. I got it. I'll show it to you. Now, here's the thing. After you copy it down, this is very critical. You have to go back up to the program that you copied it from. You have to close that program. You don't want it to be sitting there, because what happens is it's got graphic stuff it's working with, and if your graphic stuff in your machine and that conflict, it causes a problem. So here's what I do. I simply bring that back up on the screen, that one, once I save that, and I just close the program. I hit the X and it goes away. It's all done, okay? So that one's taken care of. That program is finished. Now the one in our machine is the one, and if anything went wrong up there, we can fix it here, because we have access to everything that we wrote is in this program. We can fix it. Okay, so basically I've saved the program. Now let me run it and see what happens. I'm running it now. There it is. This is it. And you can see the guy. You can see him kind of flying there, can't you? This is off the wall. I'm flying, it's on the wall over here. And he's trying to fly through that little hole in the stones. He's crazy as hell. See that hole coming up? This guy is definitely something.
I did pretty good just thinking about it.
I mean, he's going like, 250 miles an hour or something. He won't have time to know he's dead if he misses. There it is. And so, if you look around though, I got a mountain scene over here. Now, I didn't get the sky for some reason. I'm going to figure out why in a second. I didn't get the sky picture, and I'm going to check it out. I think when I made that mistake, I screwed it up somehow. That was the floor, wasn't it? I don't know what happened. But anyway, that's it. That part is done. Let me close this program here and see what I did. What's wrong with sky? Back wall, sky's right, sky.jpg. See if I got the thing. Maybe that's not out here with the others. Oh, I see. I called it sky.jpeg. I don't know where I got that one. Oh, I might have copied it down like that. Okay, so the name is now correct. I corrected the name. Yes, I want to change it. And now let's see what happens. I'm going to run the program again just to make sure it works. I should be able to get the sky now. See, so in other words, you can correct stuff. There's nothing hard to correct. You just do what you have to do. I'm going to bring this down a little bit. And now the sky's there. You can see the sky above, the floor below, the guy flying, left wall. Oops, jumping around here a little bit because everything's up. And there's the back wall over there. I basically have a bunch of walls around. I'm looking at 360 now, back to where he is here. Online, there are videos at YouTube that are called 360. And what happens is they have them so that you can look around, you can look on all sides while they run, move your mouse all around. Well, what I did was, online you'll see a program called Norway, or Norga maybe, I think I call it Norway perhaps. But what it is this girl's driving along in this car in this new highway in Norway, and she's got a 360 camera shooting all around her. So what I did was I captured going forward. I captured the movie going forward. Then I ran the same movie again and I captured it looking this way. Then I ran it again and captured it this way and captured it all 4 directions. So I had 4 videos. And I brought them into the program here and put them in the 4 screens, and you can see them. And it all looks like you're driving by. The whole thing was driving by. I also added, in those programs, I also added some barriers between the sides. See, what happens is you have a ceiling and a floor, and then the rest of the scene is out there. And unless it's all contiguous, unless it all fits together perfectly, it looks kind of rough because there's no, the 2 things come together and they're not the same scene. They're different. So what I did was I started putting pillars in the corners. You can put pillars in the corners, and it blocks the corner. So then you start looking out that window, that window, that window, and that window. But it isn't a continuous window. It breaks it up a little bit. You can, if you have a 360 picture, you can make a continuous window. And I think I have one. I put one online for us. I'm going to run some of those now and describe what we can and can't do at this point. There's some things you can't do yet because we have to do more stuff. But I wanted to show you some of the possibilities. There's a lot of things I didn't put there because we have more stuff to do. But there it is. That's how you create a room, and that's how it runs. Is there any questions about that? Does it all make sense to you? You run the wallmaker program. You write down what it is before you draw the line. You write down what the picture's name is going to be. Then you draw the line. And that picture goes on there. If you make a mistake, just hit the delete key and it'll backspace. Hit it again, it'll backspace the next one. You can backspace all the lines back off again and start over again if you want. But it's easier just to run the program fresh, and you have a new program and it'll do the same thing. So let me go to the website. I want to talk about the stuff in the website rather than just. I know it's on the homework, but I want to be sure that it's I cover it. / Okay, there's several programs. Let me start with the ones that I think are important for us to look at right away. Well, actually, the first one, the odd room, the Mossy Falls, you can do that. That's just 4 pictures. The odd room, you can do that. That's just 4 pictures. The Egyptian motif is a little bit weird. Let me bring that one up, and I'll show you what the problem with it is. This is the 3rd program down. We can do this one, but it requires stuff that you haven't thought about yet. We're going to have to deal with separately. Okay, so here's the Egyptian motif. and you can move around in it. By the way this program works, it also creates arrows. The arrows are forward. You just go forward with the arrows, and use the mouse to look left and right and up and down. You can look in any direction using the left mouse button, okay, to do that. And you can go forward, and you can go down at King Tut over here. God, that guy must have been rich. It's amazing. That's all gold. That's amazing. What a character. Anyway, so this is the Egyptian room, and just to demonstrate, you can't get out of the room. I'm going to run right to the wall down here. I'm going to run into that wall. And you can back up. You can't get out of it. You can't get out of the room. There's no way to get out of this room here. You can't even back into it, back out of the wall. And the sound is off here in the room, but when you run into the wall, I put a little sound in there saying you can't get out of here. You're stuck in there, but that's just a little humor in the thing. The sphere here rolling around, with the guy rolling around it. We didn't talk about that last time, but basically it's possible to make things spin, of course. All you have to do is have plus equals 1, it'll keep spinning. Plus equals 0.1, it'll keep spinning when you do that in the rotation. If you want the thing to spin around something like that, you have to use a thing called go X and go Y, but we're going to cover that in another class, but that's something you couldn't do right off the bat in this class. I mean, until we go a little bit further in, okay? But all the other stuff, that's just right there. It's just a six-sided figure. It's just a box with pictures on all sides of it. That's a cylinder right there, and there's a box on top and a box on the bottom, and these are all just walls. This marble floor here, it's kind of interesting because it started off just as a little corner, like that little corner right there. And I had to take that corner and I had to go into paint and put them together and make a big. If I didn't do that, if I just used that little corner for the floor, it would have been a big blur. So I did is I took it and I assembled them all together. And it turns out, if they tell you that the picture can be tiled, that's a critical thing. If a picture can be tiled, what it means is you can take it and you can put it against itself like that, and then put it against itself like that, and it will all fit together in one, because it means where one ends, the other one begins. Okay, they're all symmetrical in some way. Okay, if that isn't true, if things are not tiled, supposing you have an image and you want to make it go across this way, but it's only half that size, what you do is flip it over and save it again. So you have two images. One faces this way, the other one faces that way. When you put them together, of course, the left-hand side of this and the right-hand side of this are going to fit perfectly. So therefore, it tiles. It works, tiles perfectly. And you can do it in every direction. Sometimes it forms patterns that are a little bit irritating. That could happen. But if they're pretty random, that doesn't happen. If it's like this thing, for example, I don't know if you can tell or not, but there's six different tiles on the floor here. You can see a little bit of conflict right there with the dirt. You can see there's 4 of them together that are the same. But basically, it doesn't do a bad job. It actually is not a bad job, okay? So what you do is you go into Paint and you actually move them in. And I don't know if you realize this or not, but in Paint there's a couple of controls. One of them is you can tell the thing, well, let me go into Paint and show you. Okay, let's go into Paint. I'm going to go into it right now. I'll show you some commands in there. Paint is really handy. What you do is keep your stuff in X and View, copy it, put it into Paint, and then while it's in Paint, do whatever you have to do to it, then copy it, move it back to X and View, and then in X and View work on it, okay? So this is Paint right here. Let me show you in the upper left-hand corner. There's a couple of things you should know about. Here's the upper left-hand corner. To begin with, this select thing here. If let me draw a couple of objects, and you'll see what the problem is. This object, and okay, like that, and another object like so. Supposing I want to move this circle halfway over that circle. If I select it, whoops, not like that. Command Z gets you back out of it. Supposing I want to I do the selection here. I select this guy, and I want to put it halfway over that one. You see what's happening? The frame around has got white on it, and it ruins everything. So what you do is before you move it, you go up here to Select, hit the Select button right there, and say Transparent Selection. What that means is that anything white is now transparent. So now when I move it over here, notice it crosses just exactly the way you want it to cross. See, so that's a trick that you guys should probably know about. All right, so why did we go to paint? Do you guys remember why we went to paint? I can't think of why we did. I just wanted to show you that, I guess. Paint is very handy for stuff. I do stuff in paint, then I bring it back to the X in view. I select it, like if I want to bring this to X in view, I'll copy it, and then go into X, open X in view, and if it's here someplace, and then I'll just paste it in. You got to hold Control Shift V. That's how you get it in. Control Shift and V. It's unusual. Most of them are just Control V. X in view is Control Shift V. The guy's French. What can you say? And then you can, if you wanted to, for example, make this white transparent, you go through that process. Does everybody know how to do that? How to make transparent? How to make a transparency? Okay, this is a video like about third day in or something like that. This is a transparency video. Okay, so that takes care of that stuff. Let's go save changes. No, we're out of here. I'll get rid of the paint program. We're out of there. Let me go back to our website here. See what other things we should look at. There we go. Okay, what other things do we have to do? Storm at Sea has got a little trick to it. This one has all of the windows have MP4s on them. And it also has some things in the corners. Now, if you have a bunch of MP4s, you have 4 movies running at the same time. And see, they don't exactly match together. Like, what I did is I simply found 4 Storm movies and put them up there. In that corner right there, they wouldn't match. So then what I did is I made another wall with a picture of a door on it. So all I did was I put door.jpg and drew a line like that, and I had a new wall on an angle. So you can just add new walls in, any size you want. And you can see also, there's a little, one other thing that's going on here, which you can't do now and you will be able to later, is that if you look at this guy, at this ship, if you watch it, it is actually rocking. The boat's rocking. You can see it rock. There's a way of doing that, making the world rock. I haven't shown you that. I'll show you that later on. It's kind of a trick. That means you as the viewer are sort of getting a feeling of you're sort of part of the thing. You're sort of in it somehow. That puts you into the scene. And there it is. That's it. That's one that we probably couldn't do now because we have a couple of other things involved in it. The sound from it, there's another thing. If you suppose you took a video of 4 sounds, 4 movies, and you took the sounds with them. You got all the sounds for the movies. The trouble with them is that when they play together, they sound like they're in an echo chamber. Like, and the wind would normally go like that. Will be going. They're all conflicting for the speaker. So therefore, it makes kind of a weird sound. So the thing to do is if you're going to use the same movie 4 times, the thing to do is have 2 versions of it. One that doesn't have sound and one that does. Or there is a way of turning the sound off. In the program, we can actually tell one of them not to have sound, the other one to have it. That's another control we have. We have controls over the volume of the sound, whether it's on or off. We have controls over the transparency of the image. So for example, you can fade into another, you can dissolve into another image if you want, in the videos, if you want to do that. So in other words, all you do is have 2 videos in the same spot, and then you tell one of them to become less opaque and the other one to become more opaque, and they cross over, and you can see the thing just dissolves. It comes into a it's like a movie film. So we have those controls, and that's stuff that I want to give you in separate kind of class. Here's the drive-through Norway, just to show you what the basic idea of it is. Don't forget, this originally was a 360 movie. Whoops. This is what happens when the picture is slow and coming in. But there she is driving along. And see, this is shot out of the side of the car, and this is shot out of the back of the car. You can see that we have all four sides here. And that's how it works. So there's not a big deal. Those are the corners right there. I put those things in to prevent the two images which don't quite fit together from actually, I mean, you can't see that they're, or you can. Actually, another thing that happens is, if you have a slow machine like mine, it'll play one video faster than the other. So pretty soon they're not in sync anymore. But that's because you guys won't have this happen. This thing is like 10 years old, so it's not going to happen to you. Anyway, that's a situation. This one, let me pull one up here. Beethoven. Here's one that's going to be slow coming in. I'll hit it. It's going to be pretty slow coming in. And the reason why is because the images, there's a film of fire. Like, there it is. There's the fire. But the thing is, the fire has a very long sequence. There's a lot to it. I put a lot of activity in it. So it's a very big film, even though it's not big in length, it's big in a lot of ways. It's got a lot of data in it. So therefore, that thing right there that you're seeing could conceivably come in slow on some machines because there's so much data coming in. No, it shows you that blue for a second. Well, as I say, later on we can avoid that, but that's just for now. All this is four walls again. You have control over the lighting on everything also. What I did in the lighting here is I changed the lighting to a slight darker red. So you have control over the color of the lighting. There's different lights. There's a whole ambient light that lights up everything. There's a spotlight on the left, spotlight on the right, and a spotlight behind. And you can move those around. You have a lot of control over the lighting. Sort of think of yourself at this point, sort of like you have a theater, and you have theater controls. You have controls over the various parts. And that's probably the best way to think of this program, okay? Let's go to one last one here. Here's a UAF. Here's a picture from up on the hill. We were up near the Reichart building. All I do is take the same image and put it in all four windows. And I'm using the sound from the film. And I had to kill 3 of the 4 sounds. Only one of them is playing. The other 3 are not playing. If they were, it would sound really weird. So you see, there's not much going on there, but you can see one thing about these 4-sided things is you can create a lot of different ambience in the thing, and therefore you have like it's like a theater. It's like a theater that on a stage you can create all kinds of stuff. Here's a 3-dimensional one that a picture that showed a really wide picture of a town. That's it right there. And what I did was I just simply see it's all one picture really. That wall is not a picture. That wall was made. All that is texture. Again, that's one of these textures that you can take it and you can add it to itself, to itself, to itself, to itself. You get several textures and you make one big long wall. If you look very careful at this wall, you'll see there's some repeated stuff in it, but it was big enough so that you can't see it very well, but it's there. And this picture right here was online. I just said, give me 360-degree pictures. And they came up with these old pictures, and 3 of them lined up perfectly. The 4th one I just killed and put the wall there because it didn't line up very well. So I just did it this way. So there it is. That's and I'm using the mouse just to control my view here. Let me go to one more film. I'm going to go to one more here. I think it's called When. See if this works. Yes. This is the room. That's the ambient rain from the movie. Pretty noisy.
Maybe tell her to start over again, too.
Yeah. What's happening here is not working. This it's working too hard. There's 3 videos and the capture working at the same time, so it's actually not working quite in sync. But basically, notice the fade. What I did is I dissolved the trees and the sound away and brought in Churchill, and this is Churchill's, thing. So basically, you can, if you watch it online, you'll see it work perfectly. But that's the idea, is that when you first go into this thing, you might not notice it, but what's going to happen is it's going to change to something else. It does that dissolve. I'll leave that at that. There's nothing else to show you there, except that if you watch the other, you'll see the story change. There's a little story in it and everything. That's pretty much it. And I basically would like to have you guys start to think about the kinds of possible things you might want to do with this arrangement. I didn't put any 3D objects in there except in the Egyptian one. I put a bunch of stuff. But basically, there's a lot of possibilities for doing things. I have a little calliope. I put a little piano in there that you can actually press the keys. You also have control over things. You can touch things and make things go. That's another possibility. So in other words, just like you have mouse control, so I can say, did I touch this object? And if I did, I can do something. So you can ask the question. Every object has a condition to it. So you say, click, did I hit that object? And if you say I hit my wall or whatever you want to hit, then you can make the program do something different. And that actually gives the user interface control between the mouse and the arrows, allow them to move around. And by clicking on stuff, they can actually get things to happen. You can also talk to these programs, and they'll talk to you. They have all that capability we had from our early part of the course, because that stuff's still there. Don't forget, the 3D part of this thing is just a function. It's just that function that shows you the thing, and all the other stuff is still there. So you can use it just as much as before. That's pretty much it. I'm a little dry, and I'm going to just call it today, but basically, the first program you ought to write is just one that has floor, ceiling, 4 wall. Don't use my stuff. Use your own pictures. Go to Google, type anything you want, then go to images, and it'll give you anything you want. Go to YouTube, pull a short strip of any video you want, and I think that'll pretty much give you. It'll give you the chance to run wallmaker, make a room, and then look at it to be sure it works. Upload it. It's a homework assignment. Upload it, and I'll look at it. And if you have any problems, let me know. And just all you got to do, by the way, be sure you upload stuff before you tell me, because then I can go into the program and see right away what's wrong. There's no way to really do that well by sending stuff through email. I actually have to test it in my own little way. So there you go. That's it. Nothing else. I'll see you guys Thursday.